Welcome to the Zoom sessions with Elliot Goldstein, presented by Blue Buddha Productions. We're thrilled to have you here, and we're grateful for your support. This podcast is all about engaging conversations with inspiring minds, and we can't wait to share these moments with you. Gayle Ellett is one of the founding members of Djam Karet, an instrumental quartet that recently released their 20th album, Island in the Red Night Sky. He's also just completed his second release from his own band, Gayle Ellett and the Electromags, and is actively involved in several other projects.
Very, very nice.
I feel lucky to have such cool stuff.
Wow. And a lot of that stuff you built, right? You brought it back.
Yeah, definitely. I have just fixed an old basement amp here, and you see that? Oops, it's in the way. Anyway, yeah, and I also built a brand new guitar amplifier behind me.
Yes, I know. I remember you doing that. I saw that on Facebook.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that Marshall behind me over there.
Yep. Very nice.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Wow, wow, wow. And where in California are you?
I live in Topanga, which is a small town in the mountains above Malibu.
Yeah, I know where it is. Yeah.
You know, so I live 2 miles from the beach, but it's about 4 miles by road because the road's incredibly squiggly because we're up in the mountains.
Uh-huh. And you've been there for a while?
Yeah, so almost 40 years.
Wow. Okay.
It's super great. It's very quiet, and my backyard is open space for a mile. And
I must be listening to Djam Karet for 40 years.
Yeah, because our 40th anniversary is going to be like next year.
Yeah, I remember picking up the first set of, I picked up 2 or 3 of your albums at the same time in a little shop in New Jersey.
Oh, great.
I was managing the Meadowlands Giant Stadium at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I used to take my lunch and I'd run to all these CD shops and everything. And it was, just kind of great. It was the cover that grabbed me at first. And then,
Right.
Then I opened it up and everybody's face was covered with a guitar or something. And that was my first intro to you and the boys.
Well, good.
And I've been a diehard ever since. You and the Ozric Tentacles are my 2 favorite bands.
I appreciate you saying that. I love the Ozric Tentacles, and I tried to get Ed Wynn on this record that we're talking about, but he was too busy. He had time and he liked the idea, and I sent him music and he was into it, and then his touring schedule got moved closer, and he couldn't do it. But it was super nice of him just to be interested in it, and he's another person I've done networking with back since like the freaking 80s and 90s of
I have an interview with
sharing distributors and mailing lists and DJs and stuff like that.
I have an interview with Ed on Thursday next week.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I mean, he's amazing. Of course, he's a super amazing musician, and their band is great, and everything he does is awesome.
I always considered you and your group of musicians on par with. It was pretty much the same philosophy,
Right, yeah.
And it was just, the 2 bands are incredible. They're 2 of my favorite acts.
Well, thanks so much.
And so the Electromags, that's what we're here to talk about today. How do you, as a you're leading, well, you're in 2 bands. I don't know who's leading who's leading what. But you have 2 great outfits. How do you decide what to give to Electromags, what to give to Djam?
Well, right now I'm playing in 7 different bands, so I write music specifically for specific projects and specific albums. So I very much wanted to make this I wanted to record with Craig playing drums and Mark playing bass because they're my friends and they live nearby. Mark doesn't live nearby, he lives in Texas, but so I knew I wanted to write rock music, and where the Djam Karet is more spacey, progressive, different kind of music, and those guys all have influence on it too. So with Electromags, it's just me writing everything and sort of dictating what's what, and Mark and Craig give me feedback, but their votes really aren't equal. I mean, I'm just the decider.
Yeah. Well, Mark's a great guy. I know Mark. And
He's fantastic, and just like Craig, and just like me, he loves to work. He loves to record. He's not trying to get it done so he can be on the record. He just loves the whole process. So working with him is so good. Like he might send me something back, and if I was like, "Gee, those two notes, just I don't know why are you doing that?" He'll say, "I'll just do the whole song over and fix those two," and he's happy to do it. He's like, he's fantastic.
Mark is one of the sweetest guys I know.
And he's super talented, and he plays guitar and keyboards and tons of other stuff. He totally knows. He's a composer, of course. He knows his stuff. He's great.
He does.
To work with,
and he's involved with a couple of great bands as well.
Oh, totally.
So Electromags, new album, Friends, and there's something like 25 friends on it.
There's 22 guest players.
22 friends.
But on the face of it, seems like it would be a stupid idea because that's so many people. But I'm just amazed how well it all came out. I'm amazed at the diversity in the songs, even though I wrote all the music and the core band is just the same people, me, Mark, and Craig. But the contributions and the layers and the approaches that everybody brought were varied from song, by the individual people. And so I think it's got great variety. And I just can't believe how well everybody played. Everyone really served the song, and I didn't have to. Nobody sent me stuff that I had to like cut, throw away. No, no one said something bad. I'm like, well, you can't be on the record. It's terrible. I don't want any terrible songs on there. But everything was, and I worked super hard to mix it, and they all contributed. Like some groups took almost like a year to get the stuff back to me, but it all worked out.
I have Splitting Hairs on loop. I've been just on repeat. Splitting Hairs.
Dudley, who's a friend of mine who's bald, is like a wailing blues guitar player, and he's won a lot of awards in the blues world. And I went to college with him, and he's a super nice guy. And he lives in Peter Frampton's old house in Cincinnati.
Oh, really?
And Peter Frampton's old house was set up with a huge SSL mixing console and tons of gear that's too big to even get out of the house. And my friend Dudley Taft, being a pro musician and being able to afford it with his family and stuff, or however they afforded it, I don't know. All that gear is still in a lot of it is still in his house that he uses to record. So he's super talented and super nice, and he wails on guitar.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not a bad musician on this album. I mean, you're pretty impressive friends.
I'm lucky. I'm very lucky.
Yeah, you are. And everybody on the album has a relatively important band too that they're involved with. Ted Price.
He has no important band he's involved with, and he's not on Facebook. He's just a friend I went to high school with.
Right.
And he lives down in San Diego, and he's just a great keyboard player. I mean, obviously, and super nice guy. And now he's really into modular synthesizers and other stuff. But I'm surprised he doesn't play with a band and stuff.
Yeah, he was the only person I really couldn't find a lot of info on.
No.
And but everybody else pretty much has a relatively important band. Now, are you guys can go out on the road at all?
No, I don't think so, but I wish we could get Mark Cook out here to LA sometime and at least maybe play some LA gigs just as a trio. But even as a trio, that doesn't make sense because we need, another guitar player to at least play. If we would like to play music from the first album, say, Shiny Side Up, which is a trio record where I play all the solos, would be nice.
That's an incredible album too.
Oh, thanks. I think this album is like way better.
It is, but Shiny Side was so different than what you were doing prior to that.
Well, prior to that, yeah, but the music, the core group between the two records, the Electromag records is the same. I wrote the music rather similarly, but the huge difference in the second album, the new one, Friends, is it's the great contributions that everybody did. I just can't believe how great everybody did.
Right.
And I'm not into touring, and I don't really like playing live very much unless it's really casual.
Yeah, I know. You do a lot of like 2-piece, 3-piece acoustics.
Yeah. I mean, I super love music, and I like playing in low-key events where people don't have to buy tickets and they're not traveling from a long distance to hear you play. And when we play with Djam Karet, people come from out of state to hear us. Sometimes people drive up from Mexico and have driven in from Chicago.
Yeah, I know.
That's super amazing, and it's complimentary, but it just stresses the living crap out of me because you owe them greatness, and it just intimidates me. Ever since I was a kid taking piano lessons as a 5-year-old, recitals just freaked me out. And casually playing is fun, but playing
Right.
serious music at festivals and stuff, I hate it. Really, I
Now,
basically hate it.
now, Parades is all over the globe now, right? There's
Yeah.
some guys in Mexico, and I know you guys aren't on top of each other. Um, so this album just came out. It's getting great reviews. It's getting a lot of press, which is incredible. But Karet too gets a lot of great press. It must be you're doing something right. How do
It's
you how do you work your social life, your social media life? I know you're not.
um
I know you're not fond of social media.
I'm not overly against it, but I post on Facebook every day, probably stuff about what I'm doing or what Djam Karet is doing. But I super love music critics, and I wish the world was populated with music critics because they're so positive towards my music, even though
Towards you, it's
towards
amazing.
me and Djam Karet is such a weird group, which we've been doing forever. So it's very nice when you can play unique and strange music the way you want to and not care how it goes over, and then have other people appreciate that and like the skill and the talent and the vision that you have. So it's been very encouraging. Music critics, because you can't judge your own music objectively. So I can't look at how my music sounds. I mean, I don't really know how my music sounds compared to other people. I always see me playing it while I'm listening to it, and you have a rough idea, but it's great to have objective music critics say, well, your record is okay, or it's really great, or you did this right, or you did that wrong, or like to
Right,
give dang feedback about it. It
right.
is helpful. And I think if people get bad reviews all the time, it's probably because they need to get better. I mean, it's being kind of
Yeah.
harsh to say, but it's
Well,
just so encouraging. And the business is discouraging, and we're small. And so it's so nice to talk to you and have you be interested in our music and giving us exposure. And I super appreciate it. And we've been
well,
really lucky. We've been lucky.
well. I don't know if it's luck, but I mean, you're like the darlings of the prog world, and it's just,
We're
it
like
just,
we're the opposite of a cult band. I think a cult
yeah.
band is hated by the critics and loved by the masses, and we're kind of loved by the critics and ignored by the masses.
Now,
So
why is that? Why is that?
well, when you play instrumental rock music that's weird, like who even listens to instrumental rock music except progressive people and
Yeah,
some people,
that's
music
definitely
without lyrics is just most people don't have a stereo really, and they don't even listen to music without lyrics. They don't
yeah,
understand what it's about. They
yeah.
feel like that there's a story going on that they don't understand. So, people have told me.
Was that the fall of jazz too? I mean, jazz
I think,
is
yeah, I think punk came along in the 70s and ruined everything that was great about music. Punk came along and said, why practice? Why have
right.
six strings on your guitar and why even tune it? It's just attitude. And
Yeah,
it made music available to everybody. You didn't have to be someone who played for decades to be able to play Mahavishnu Orchestra, but we all miss that music that you had to be playing for decades to get good at. I do.
sure. Well, I think you have to play good to play lousy and pull it
Yeah,
off.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this you just can't play lousy and put it out there. Because you're in that same world as guys like the gong people, and
Mhm.
we spoke about the tentacles, and I mean, it's definitely something happening there. What's his name? The Alan Holdsworths and all that stuff. That's where you guys belong, and I mean, that's who you are. And when you talk about bands like that, I think your bands ought to be mentioned as well. I mean,
Well, it's very complimentary of you to say that. I really appreciate it.
yeah.
We're trying.
I mean, guys like Demiola pulled it off, and
Yeah.
and
I hate excessive compression, so I always try to make clear and dynamic records, and we're recording, digitally, now for the past many decades. So
right,
really nice to try to make clear and clean productions that have great sonic value. And Djam Karet and stuff is very cinematic, and we've just kind of tried to make mini movies in your mind, because since it's not filled with endless soloing where we're trying to show that we can play guitar faster than everybody else,
right.
like so much instrumental music, whether it's
It,
jazz or metal or progressive or guitar music, sometimes the people are so trying to show off their guitar skills that they don't want the music to be interesting because it would distract from them shredding. And they want you at the end of the song to go, wow, that guy's an amazing guitar player. And they succeed at that. But when you hear that song once, you go, wow, he's an amazing guitar player. But you don't think that was an amazing song. I want to hear it again.
right. Okay.
I'm way more, with the Electromags stuff in general, I tried to really work super hard to try to make the compositions underneath all the soul and be interesting.
Yes.
And variations and change style and go from rock chords to jazz chords or electronic-y parts, or to keep the underlying music underneath it interesting and moving, as well as with all the solos on top that I had on the first record and on the second record. So I think that's worked out really well, because it's been a huge focus, is to try to get the underlying music to be compelling, and moving and dynamic with changes.
Sure. I mean, obviously you go to your way to do that. How do you get interested in that whole world music field?
Well, from like just living here in LA as a kid, I hear lots of Mexican music, and I like mariachi music, and I love Mexican music. And in college, I was always listening to tons of world music, traditional music from around the world. And almost every country has their own national orchestra that puts out traditional music. And those albums are easy to find in libraries. You can check them out for free. And so I was always super into that. And then in the 80s and stuff, I started getting into doing some TV music for ESPN, a TV show called Surfer and Powder. Those are huge magazines for skiing and surfing.
Right.
And they have TV shows that go with them. And so they would say, hey, can you give us some instrumental rock music? And me and my friend Gardner Graber, we'd record that and give it to them. And they'd pay us, which is great. And then they'd say, well, but we're going to be surfing in Jamaica. Can you do like reggae music? And so I started doing that. And, then when they're skiing in Peru, they want Peruvian folk music. And so since then, a lot of the commercial music I've done for film and TV has almost always been world music, where I'm playing traditional Chinese music or Japanese music or music from South America or somewhere. Public domain songs that I can do covers of, or I write new compositions in those same styles and play them on traditional instruments. And then I'm just doing like a straight traditional version. I'm not adding big drums and making it all modern and stupid sounding, because that's not what they want, So
yeah, because a lot of your local
what the client wants, it's not for what I want, it's what for the client wants, because they're paying me, because it's for commercial music. And so that's a whole nother mindset and approach to music, where my art music is totally art music for me and the way I like it, and everyone else can kind of kiss off, really. And then the commercial music is, I don't need to like it, the client needs to like it.
Right.
And so having a deliberate focus in what you're doing and the different ways you can approach music has helped me have a better understanding of what the heck I'm doing on any one particular album.
Yeah, because even a lot of your local gigs that you're playing in your, where you are, you play traditional music, traditional instruments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, you're such a guitar whiz that I'm always amazed that you're out there with Greek string instruments.
My Greek bouzouki, I love playing that, and I back up a couple of singer-songwriters, and I just play melodically. I don't solo hardly at all on it, just a little bit, but I'm just accompanying them and backing them up and behind their acoustic guitar, and it's super fun, and everything is challenging if you think about it. I'm sitting in with a couple of cover bands from the 60s and 70s this past few months, and I'm not really interested in that music because it's kind of overly simple, Dylan and Neil Young and stuff. I mean, it's fun to listen to, but playing it for me is kind of overly simple. But it's good practice to practice my rhythm playing, and I wish I was a better rhythm player. And so playing music that you don't write is challenging. When you write your own music, you keep writing it the way that's easy for you.
Okay.
And if people, you know what I mean? So
yeah,
some of the people that I approached for the Electromags album, who I respect and love and have their albums, had a really hard time fitting into the project because it wasn't their own music, and they only play in their own band. They only make their own records, and they don't play in other groups, and they didn't have experience adapting to some new piece of music. And like, all I ever do is adapt to new pieces of music. People sending me stuff, joining other bands, it's just, and it's what you practice, you get better at. And for some people, they're great guitar players and their albums are great, but they're so narrowly focused in only what they do that they of course they can't really improvise or adapt to music because they just don't practice it.
Who are some of your who are some of the guys who influenced your playing?
Well, I feel like Dickie Betts taught me how to play guitar just from listening to Allman Brothers. And when I started playing guitar, I was 13, and Southern rock was big, and I super loved the Allman Brothers and Southern rock a ton. That kind of melodic, bluesy pentatonic scale style playing was probably what influenced me the most, and ZZ Top, that stuff. Of course, I super love Mahavishnu and other bands, but or Pat Metheny, who I've seen many times. But that style is impressive, but those styles are kind of beyond me, and they're not really my personality. So
Right. Okay.
mostly it would be like the Southern rocky, bluesy rock kind of style, really.
Okay. Because Karet has none of, there's very little of that.
No.
That's all deep,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I can play in jazz styles and rock styles and country styles and folk styles, because I play in bands that do all that stuff. So it's
Sure. But guys like Hendrix,
yeah.
did any of that rub off, or
Of course, his whole attitude and sound and style and his flowing way of playing and his aggressiveness is totally rubs off on you.
Right.
Growing up in LA, all sorts of music was very popular on the radio. And plus, as you know, in the 60s and even in the 70s, of course, mainstream radio would play Yes and ELP and Elton John and
Sure.
ZZ Top and the Allman Brothers, like all together, because they didn't think that was weird.
Right. Yeah. The good old days.
The good old days. So you'd hear just on normal radio.
I mean, you used to go to the Fillmore and see three different genres, in the same evening,
Yeah.
That's when I think that's where everybody's like love for music and different attitudes, like you said, came from. You went to see the Allman Brothers, and it could have been a jazz act opening for them or something like that.
Absolutely. When I saw Yes play once, Peter Frampton opened, and that's like way different.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I miss those days. Do you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, radio became formatted formula, and
yeah. Now people write to that format. I think Pat Metheny in a lot of ways writes for the wave, and he is the sound of the wave, him and Kenny G, and that music's so well done, it's so smooth. I have super no interest in it.
Exactly.
Because I super love the early Pat Metheny records. They're great. I mean, they're super great. When I first saw Pat Metheny, I was, I think, 15 years old, and he was maybe 17 years old or 18, playing in the Gary Burton band.
Yeah. Wow. Streaming. What's the deal with streaming? Killing music, keeping it alive? What's the deal with streaming?
I think that, normally musicians have the ability to be on streaming or not. So if you don't want to be on streaming, don't. And I have some albums that are on streaming and some that are not. Like I don't think the Electromags albums are going to end up on streaming.
Okay.
So I can see the point of giving your music away for free, because you're giving it away for free. It doesn't lead to anything. It doesn't lead to sales, really.
Right.
I mean, people these days don't have stereos at home. They don't have big speakers. They don't have a record player. They don't value music. And if they, you know what I mean? So streaming, I think, is here to stay. And I think no money in music is here to stay. And your record labels these days, when you sign a big new record label deal, they're demanding a share of your live performance.
Really?
Yes, up front.
Well,
because they say, just like we made you famous, where's our part of the ticket sales?
okay.
Which is horrible and
horrendous. It is horrible.
They ask for it, and you can say, I want my contract changed for me, and they go, no.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like 7D Media, that's Trey's label.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you do on the road is yours. Whatever you sell on the road is yours.
It should be.
All the merch on the road is yours. They don't touch any of that.
And in a lot of ways, if you want to put out other records on your own, they shouldn't be able to say no,
right.
Unless it's some big reason why they give you anyways. So, I mean, I don't stream. I don't listen to streaming. I mean, I'm totally against it, but I'm not really in favor of it. I just think people that are going to listen to it on streaming are going to keep listening to it on streaming. And I don't see them buying your CD later.
Yeah. Well, I think the people who listen to you will follow you anywhere at this point. You have a deep base following, and a lot of new bands don't have it anymore. I don't know if they're ever going to be able to get it the way things are going, but
I don't think so. And streaming must be huge. I mean, the content must be like gigantic.
Sure.
The internet's worth of music, pretty much. And so, Yeah, you can be on there along with, there's got to be, if there's 7 billion people on the planet, there's probably 8 billion bands on there and
Yeah,
90,
of course,
90
yeah,
billion songs. So,
yeah.
uh,
And they make it easier and easier to get on streaming, DistroKid and all that stuff.
well, for a while, Spotify was working with some labels secretly to put up like commercial music that Spotify would get their royalties from, little
Right.
though they be. And then they were pushing those songs to their own playlists.
Yeah,
And you wouldn't realize that band, what's a band, is a Spotify creation.
right.
Some friends of mine in Sweden did a lot of that. They sold a lot of music,
Oh, really?
electronic music. Yeah, like I think $5,000 a song or more, maybe 10 grand a song up
Wow.
front, just a buyout.
Yeah.
You sell them the song, they go great. They put them together and pretend to make some made up band name.
Wow.
The
Now,
listeners are getting completely tricked by that. It doesn't happen all the time, but that's just bogus.
no, it is. And now Bandcamp was just sold this week, right?
Oh, has it? I don't know. It's been
Yeah.
fantastic so far. I love it. I hope it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah,
weird.
Bandcamp has a new owner as of this week. And yeah, they're coming out with a whole slew of new programs,
I hope they're all
Band-
good and none of them are bad. I
I
hope.
know Bandcamp was the only saving grace.
Absolutely.
You know,
And then you can find fantastic bands and up to kind of almost big bands on there. And absolutely. And if I want it digital only, or I mean, you can, geez, they don't charge you anything to be on there except for when they move your music.
yeah,
They convert it to every file format that you want for you to
And-
WAV,
yeah,
MP3.
and Bandcamp's beautiful because first of all, they don't hold you money for long, a day or two.
No, right.
And it's great. And plus, you can't stream a song 25 times, 2 or 3 times. That's the limit. Then you have to buy it. And that's fair.
But you can
enough.
still hear the whole song instead of 30 seconds of a song, which is nice too. On the flip
Yes.
side,
Yeah,
30
exactly.
seconds of, 30 seconds of a complicated song, you haven't, like in my music, like
No,
what's that?
Yeah, I know. That's you guys warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But Bandcamp was great. 2 or 3 times you listen to the album, and then get off your ass, buy the damn thing. Which
It's
is
fantastic.
yeah.
I love it, and everybody loves it. Consumers like it.
Yeah.
I'm surprised some people still haven't really heard of it because
I know. It's the only game in town, really.
every Djam Karet record is up there. If we run out of CDs,
Yeah.
we still have it up there digitally, so you can
Yep.
still
Yeah.
our back catalog stuff. That even if we run out of CDs for a while or permanently or whatever, it's there to.
Now, what
download.
do you guys consider a success? How many copies of something selling?
Just a few thousand, and we're happy.
Yeah.
And over time, maybe 5,000 or more. But our sales are small. Our sales are little.
Okay.
We're tiny.
Yeah, because I know you guys had some great weekends where your entire catalog blew out. What you brought in.
Yeah, I mean, if we go to a festival, we'll sell $2,000 worth of CDs, like $1,000 worth of CDs every day, because we're there in person,
Yeah.
and because we take credit cards because we're not stupid, and we have a CD player where they can listen to anything. They'll be like, "Well, I have 10 of your CDs." Like, yeah, but we got like 8 more, 10 more that you don't have yet.
Yeah. And another thing that's I know you're not too involved in this, but it got more important now to be a good social media motivator than a musician.
Yeah, but so like we're not on Instagram like we probably
Right.
should be, and we don't do TikTok like I guess you should be. But on the flip side, you can have 5,000 followers on Facebook, and if you put a new album out, if I don't know, however many of them are gonna from Facebook from you reading that are gonna buy it, 50 maybe, or that's worth, if you have to post every day to help, you know what I mean? It's hardly worth the effort of
Right.
unless you want to.
Plus, the TikTok people aren't your. It's not your wheel. It's not your
No,
wheelhouse.
But Instagram could be, and people are moving
Instagram could
away.
be.
These things, Facebook's losing its kind of popularity, and Instagram seems to be gaining its popularity. But
Yeah.
it's I just post pictures of stuff I like because I'm kind of chatty and love talking about music and gear and stuff. So it's
Right.
easy for me to just.
So
And if I don't, I'll just find an older review of one of our records and say, "Here's what they said about our record from a few years ago," just to put up content.
right. Okay.
Uh,
Now
It's easy.
your gear. I see some beautiful guitars back there.
I'm a music maniac and I'm a gear maniac, and let's
Yeah.
take a look at that. this blue one I played probably the most for rhythm guitar, this Telecaster.
Yeah.
I put Bigsby whammy bars on those two Les Pauls, and
Well, yeah, I see.
that's my Strat from the 70s. I put new pickups in it, custom shop pickups in it. And yeah,
Nice, nice,
I'm a big
nice.
fan of trying to maximize my gear because music is hard and playing great is really difficult. And it's really nice to have, if you can, the best working guitars and amps that you can afford to
Right.
give you the best chance at not sounding shitty. It's
And
like
and you do most of the work yourself on your gear.
yeah, which is fun. It's I really like I like learning how to I learned how to build a synthesizer, and then I built that guitar amp behind me. And
Right,
so
Marshall.
I'm a learnable person, and I know how to solder. So and I'm fearless. I was a hang gliding instructor for 20 years,
Really?
and I've flown off the cliffs of Yosemite 20 times with permits from the Forest Service that allows us to do it legally, which
Uh-huh.
is freaking amazing.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm that one Les Paul. The day I got it, I cut the pickups out and rewired it back in the way I want it to be. And my wife was like, "How can you get that new and just cut it apart?" I'm like, "Because it's not the way I want it to be. I know it. I mostly know what I'm doing, and if I
Okay.
screw it up, I'm not wrecking it. It can be still fixed by me or
Right.
anyways.
Now I
I'll
see
try
that
it.
I see the Hammond in the back.
Yeah, yeah,
And do you have a Leslie for that or?
yeah. My big Leslie is
Uh-huh, there it is.
there, and
Okay.
there's my awesome basement amplifier that we just brought back from the dead.
Wow.
That's one of my new favorite gigantic Fender amp. I bought it
Cool.
broken.
Wow.
Bought it broken for $1,000 and it wasn't working.
Wow.
And over here, so you can stuff in my house
Oh
is
wow.
is my mini Moog and my Rhodes
Yeah.
and Rhodes
Rose.
piano.
Wow.
Oh yeah, way back there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
What is
I have that set up. That's a carbon, and I have that set up as a lap steel guitar,
oh, okay.
meaning that I raised the nut up like the strings are about like a half an
Yeah.
inch fretboard, and
Okay.
that's what I played that song. I think it's maybe Saddles and Spurs off the first Electromags album.
Thanks.
It's got slide guitar all over it. I'm using one of these big steel bars,
Oh, sure.
you know.
Yeah.
So it's
Wow.
nice to have one set up like that all the time.
Yeah, wow. So you're covered. You have everything right at your
Yeah,
fingertips.
I got a nice electric 12 string and I'm pretty set.
Okay, so when's the next Karet album coming out?
Chuck and Henry are predominantly in charge of the next record, which is great because I was really much in charge of the last couple where we record them at my house and I kind
Right.
of was overseeing everything and writing a lot of the music and organizing it, mixing and producing and marketing and all that stuff. And it's a huge amount of effort. So fortunately, I'm super happy and they're totally psyched to take over driving the next record their way out at Chuck's studio out in Claremont, which I
Uh-huh.
think they're starting to work on. So I think I'm not really sure the direction it's going to be, but they're trying to for sure get an album done for, in the middle of next year, which is our 2024 is our 40th anniversary from when we were formed back in 1984.
Right.
So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I know they're starting to work on it, and it's really good. And I'm just glad to sort of we've done it in the past where we'd recorded whose ever studio we're recording at the moment is kind of the bigger decider.
The
Sometimes
ringleader. The ringleader.
yeah, sometimes it's been Chuck's. Often it's been Chuck's studio. Sometimes my studio. Sometimes we were using Mike Henderson's studio back in the earlier days. So it's nice to not have to. It's just good. The musical benefit from them from a change of pace and change of direction. And I like to change things up anyway. And I was running out of ideas for the Djam Karet stuff. And we all live far apart, man. I live like an hour and 20 minutes from them. So
Right. Now you guys have been together. I mean, you've been a unit for a long time. I mean, you guys
for 40 years, but we don't, but
yeah.
months will go by and we don't meet or hang
No, no,
out.
no, I know, but as a playing unit, you guys must click like you must know how the other guys think by this point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We always would start every rehearsal with a long improvised jam. Against our first few albums, our first album, and for the first few years, all of our shows were 100% totally improvised, like with my band Hillman, where we have no songs or no material or like nothing, and just tune up and start playing. And so you also learn to read people and read the room and figure out what music is happening at the moment and how you can add to it, or maybe not playing is going to help make the song better. How
Right.
you can adapt. to it, and we even whenever we get together, we do that. So that helps you loosen up your mind and loosen up your fingers and
Get back in the groove.
get back in the groove and have fun for a while. And that jam
Right.
might be 20 minutes or 45 minutes or however the heck long it might be. And that's like albums like The Trip was formed just by having those recorded. And then we were rehearsing to go to France to headline this 3-day festival, Crescendo Festival, back in, I think it was 2009. And we were rehearsing rehearsing all the time. And we just work on one song for like 5 or 6 hours all day long. And
Okay.
to keep from going nuts, we'd improvise in between and stuff. And so we're always rolling tapes, so to speak. And so the trip was about 5 of those little totally improvised jams that I mixed at home and sequenced together. That sounds pretty dang organized, So that's a way stony record.
Yeah, and so I mean, just working with the same people is just great because it becomes you guys start thinking alike. Where else can you go at this point where you haven't been? Anything that you want to visit, anything you want to to maneuver to, any sound, any type of.
Well, the great thing about Djam Karet is, or however you pronounce our name, which is impronounceable and everyone pronounces it differently, is that we're free, we're free to do whatever the heck we want to do. And so I would love to, for instance, everyone would probably like it if we did a much more aggressive rocky record like A Night for Baku, which would be a great idea. I would super like to work in horn arrangements and make it a dark horn arrangement, progressive-y kind of a record.
That'd be cool.
And I wouldn't be adverse to even working with really good singers, because I'm not really into singing. I don't sing, mediocre singing is atrocious and bad lyrics are like unbearable, but great singers and great lyrics are good. I would be open-minded to having vocalists because we can do what we want to do, and change is good. And, those are areas that we've never gone into before. So, who knows, but probably will. I mean, I don't know what to say. Who knows?
So where do we find your stuff? Bandcamp?
Yep, on Bandcamp at Gayle Ellett and the Electromags is both albums are now on Bandcamp today. The new album just went on pre-sale.
And next week is Bandcamp Friday, guys.
Next week, which is all the money goes to us, because again, that company is like, who would do that? An awesome company would do that.
Right.
I mean, it's just great.
It's really amazing how happy everybody is with Bandcamp.
I'm super happy with it, and it's easy, and editing stuff is easy, making the page look the way you want it, so you design it, blah, 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 that's all easy.
Yep. So what else do you want to tell us? Talk to me. What do you want to tell us?
Well, all I can say is starting to write music for a third Electromags record, which will, unless I change my mind, will probably be a lot more progressive. It won't have 22 guest players on it. And will be more keyboardy and won't be so guitar solo-y. It'll be more melodic and more orchestrated and written out. And, it's gonna be more mellow and not so dang rocky, which I like rocky, but I want to make, change things up. The first one, Shiny Side Up, I did the best I could, playing the best solos I could on that kind of record. And so I'm not going to do a version 2 of that because it won't be as good as the one plus I don't want to just rehash that concept. And I think I knocked it out of the park with this Friends record, with the getting all my friends on there, which was like amazing.
Yep.
And so maybe this one I'll go back into playing a lot more Mellotron and Hammond organ and playing my keyboards more, and of course playing tons of guitar, but having the drums not play all the time, but most of the time, and just being more with, of course, Craig and Mark and maybe some players here and there. But
I didn't see your Mellotron.
I only have a digital Mellotron.
Oh, okay.
So it's a fake Mellotron.
Oh, okay. That's okay. Well, we'll let it go.
It's from Sweden. It's from Sweden. My Nord keyboard, but no.
Right.
Sample.
So the Electromags now are as important to you as Djam Karet.
Yeah, and it's right here where I can manipulate it and work with it, because I don't feel like driving out to Claremont all the time, which is like almost an hour and a half each way, and they don't feel like driving out here all the time. So I think we're going to do more of the recording of the new Djam Karet record kind of remotely.
Okay.
Like working with Mark is with my Electromags record, because he hasn't met Craig, the bass player and drummer, and Electromags haven't met each other yet, which is kind of silly.
Yeah. And it sounds like they were, they have a great pocket going.
It's because they both listen really hard and they try to serve the music. They're not trying to look good. They're trying to make the song sound good and the song look good.
Right.
And so they don't overplay, but they don't underplay. And in the kind of music we're playing, there's a lot of room for them to be more upfront, which they are.
Right.
Craig is just such a phenomenally great drummer, but he's not an overly busy, hyper drummer. It's not like he's not always going, look at me, here I am. You know, which I appreciate. He's just a flowing 70s style in the pocket kind of drummer. And Mark does the same thing on bass. He plays it straight, but with lots of fluidity, embellishments, and moving around and making it interesting, playing the different parts in different ways. And
I stumbled upon Mark. I stumbled upon Mark through your recordings. That's
I didn't know that. He's great, and just like I said, it's super nice to work with. I don't have a lot of tolerance as I get older to work with people that are like, well, I try 3 takes, but after that I quit because I move on because blah blah blah. It's like, you say that because you suck. Seriously, good people don't do that unless they're session pros who will nail it in 1 or 2 takes.
Right.
They don't say I'll get in 3 takes, I'll move on. They'll have nailed it. But
right now, don't take this the wrong way. After this 22 Friend CD. Any collaborations in the works?
Right.
I mean a little more like one-on-one collaborations where you guys will do a big project together.
I'm not sure. I would really like to work more with Dudley. For instance, Dudley Taft, that guitar player. And
I mean, your last album was all collaboration. I'm not talking about your one-offs. I'm talking about
No, I mean, I would like to work with Dudley more. He's a super nice guy. And he's a good singer, and but who knows? I'm not sure. I've got to.
It's funny, it's funny you picked Dudley because that's the one I keep going back to. I just keep going back to Splitting Hairs. Great tune.
Well, you should hear the rest of his stuff. Go to his website and listen to his music because he's freaking great.
Yeah, I will. That's
he's got YouTube videos where he's playing live in his home, in the recording studio, with his trio. He plays in trio, and because it's in a studio and they're playing through an SSL desk through super nice microphones and stuff with a little bit of reverb and delay and everything. The sound sounds like it's a record, without, like, they're dubs, but there aren't dubs. And he's just, I'll send you one of his. I'll find one and send it to you on Facebook just so you can see it.
Cool.
It's impressive, and he's super nice guy.
I never even knew. How about if we get together again in a couple of weeks?
Absolutely, and send me whatever that Blue Buddha music stuff you were talking about.
I'm going to. That's Gower and some other stuff. But I want to continue this.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chance to talk about music and promote my record. And it's super nice to talk to you. And I'm fortunate, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
So let's tell everybody again. The new album is called Friends, and it's the Electromags. It can be found on Bandcamp.
Yeah, under Gayle Ellett and the Electromags.
Gayle Ellett, and that's
And I have a website, Gayle Ellett and the Electromags.com, obviously. Yep. And I have 2 videos from each of my 2 records are up on YouTube under Gayle Ellett and the Electromags. So you can easily get a view of what all that stuff looks like real easily.
I'll put links on all that stuff when I post everything. And so I want to thank you, and I'll be in touch with you right after this.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Okay, my friends, stay well, stay safe, and keep up the good work.
You got it. Thank you kindly.
Love you, man.
I appreciate it.
Take care.
You got it.